But Pastor Steve's results really blew my mind. And he had all greens, all greens. This is a very rare. This is extremely rare. Some people have a lot of yellow and a lot of red. Steve was actually, which was just amazing, probably the best. I've had models, I've had athletes, people that look like perfection. I've had all types of people here. Steve's scan was the best scan I ever had.
Hey, hello, Discover Church family. We're here together with my friend John. We have a little something in common with each other. We're both half Thai. Is that right, John?
That's correct.
Half Thai. You're half Thai, half American?
Half Thai and half American.
All right. Well, I'm half Thai, half Aussie. Okay. Not much of a difference, I don't think. I brought John on today, and I think those who have been following us, you're going to be so blessed and you're going to enjoy this. I believe that there is a solution for every problem you're going through. I really do. I think there is a solution. It's somewhere out there, but you got to listen to the Lord, ask God for it, and you will find a solution. And so many times people live in fear thinking, I got this bad report, something bad is going on. And then, how many different types of therapies and surgeries and things do you have to do to fix yourself? So I'll get into my interest in that. But if you could just tell us very briefly, like something tragic, like dramatic happened to your neck.
Yeah, as I grew up here in the U.S., I grew up in Indiana, and I was a wrestler. And so I took my career in that sport and got a half-ride scholarship. I did a move and broke my neck on my own move. I actually won the match with no hands against a very tough competitor. I didn't know what to do. I lost the ability to use my hands. I couldn't even do that. I couldn't do anything. It would say hand squeeze, nothing. When I went to the doctor, they're like, you're in super bad shape. You're going to need a surgery immediately. This was when I was 20 years old. And my decision was I refused the surgery. And even if I have to move like this, and I did move like this for about 10 years of my life, just to turn my head. And today, as you can see, didn't even work out today, nothing.
So did you pray to the Lord?
Yes. During the time I was in bed, I was just like, please, Lord, please, Jesus, give me an answer. Please. And each night, it was that much pain. And there was no other thing that I could possibly do except pray.
I believe in divine healing. I believe in supernatural health. I believe Christ is the healer. As a pastor for nearly 25 years, I just found out that sometimes the cause of the sickness, the cause of the condition, sometimes is spiritual, and at other times it's natural. And we needed a kind of a balanced approach. We needed both the spiritual side. People need to know the word of God. They need to walk in love. They need to walk in forgiveness. Those things are absolutely essential. But then you also need to take care of yourself naturally. And I come from, my profession is ministering, and I know how unhealthy some of the biggest health healing, divine health preachers are. I have not been sick. This is now, let's count, at least almost 30 years, 50 countries. I've not, by the grace of God, been sick. God has been very good to me. And I attribute that to, number one, divine health. You got to love the Lord, read the Bible every day, pray every day. But I also take care of myself naturally. And that's what I want you as an expert, John, to come and tell us a little bit more about. For me, I say very simply, I have no dye in my hair. I have no chemicals. I got no fluoride in my mouth. I got no commercial Western deodorant in my armpit. I've never had an aspirin, Tylenol, Panadol. None of it's in my system. So some of that people aren't doing. They eat a lot of high fructose corn syrup. I think aspartame, all the zero sugar drinks, to me, they're poison. I just don't take anything that I don't think God made directly. We have to tamper and tinker with it and then put labels. And you can't pronounce the names. I don't eat that stuff at all. So a combination of loving the Lord and following him, walking in love, and then doing the natural thing. So I want people to understand that when you're looking for a solution, you probably have to look at both sides. It's not going to be one or the other. It's going to be both. So as we delve into this area of health solution, what I've found is the deeper down the rabbit hole you go, because they don't make it easy for you to find the solution. At the end of the tunnel, okay, naturally speaking, I keep finding Russian technology. Now, can you just enlighten us? What is going on there? Why are the Russians, who's like made to be the bogeyman, why are they healthier than us and they got all these solutions?
Well, Russian people, they've banned GMO, they've banned pesticides. They don't want their citizens unhealthy as much as they can. And these scientists have put together so much amazing stuff. I was born here in America. I was given high fructose corn syrup. It was told that sugar is sugar, water is water. Who cares? I felt like I've always been healthy because I've been an athlete. But for the average person, now we see kids getting diabetes even in their youth. So over there, though, the level of intelligence, and we're talking worldwide, of course, we have worked with some of their most famous people. And here in the West, no one even realized that these people even exist. So there is a disinformation campaign, of course, but when it comes to health, we're talking what you're saying, connecting with God. And that's the first line. That's the base. You got to cover your bases. You have to connect with God. You got to pray. You got to put these cleaner, non-man-made foods in our body. Their level of understanding supersedes our mainstream advice. Our mainstream advice is not accurate. It's accurate on a man-made system.
If I sit too long, just writing books, writing sermons, I can get maybe a pinched nerve or a back pain or things like that. And I'd go to this physio in Australia, and every time he wants to use Russian technology on me. And he introduced me to infrared light. And there were times when, let's say I sat in the airplane for over 20 hours, and he would put that infrared light on me. I don't know how many minutes, say 15, 20 minutes. And I can feel like the healing process was speeding up. Let's put it that way. But begin to introduce us to this idea of frequency. It's almost just, everybody's using this word frequency, but why would frequency speed up the body's own natural healing?
Frequency just means a waveform. It's like an S, right? And a waveform, basically, depending on the cycles per second, this is the hertz. The hertz is the level of measurement of a frequency. Now, this whole reality could be seen scientifically as everything is moving at a specific frequency. And that's how they mapped out the body, knowing that bacterias and good bacteria versus bad, good microbes versus bad microbes, cancer cells versus healthy cells, everything can be measured equally to a fingerprint using frequencies. Now, these go to decimal points, but basically the science of medicine that Albert Einstein and Nikola Tesla talked about in Albert Einstein's own words, the future of medicine is the medicine of frequencies. And so they knew it over 100 years ago. And I believe, like what we're saying, is the Russians were able to run with this a lot further. Here in the West, you will be demonized for using frequencies. And the crazy thing is that God created all frequencies. Going back to your leg or the light therapy, frequency comes in many different formats. Sound, you can't see it with the human eye. Light, sometimes you can see it, sometimes you can't. And direct current, like you connecting with the frequency. And this is easily proven that you can instantly change your frequency. And so they knew it over 100 years ago. And I believe, like what we're saying, is the Russians were able to run with this a lot further. Here in the West, you will be demonized for using frequencies. And the crazy thing is that God created all frequencies. And the only thing we have been able to do as man is to be able to figure out first. It was figured out just before 1900 that you can measure frequency for the first time, right? And then we realized that all the frequencies were already here. And then we learned how to manage and basically manage these frequencies, use machines to utilize this specific frequency. And because of that, there is over 100 years of science that shows that frequencies address these issues. Going back to your leg or the light therapy, frequency comes in many different formats. Sound, you can't see it with the human eye. Light, sometimes you can see it, sometimes you can't. And direct current, like you connecting with the frequency. And this is easily proven that you can instantly change your frequency.
Okay, so before some of the Christians think that we're getting into New Age stuff, I want to biblically ground us in this. What John just said is light is a frequency. Everybody understands that. Like, sound is a frequency. What we're going on to say with this frequency theory is that at a subatomic particle level, they're saying in string theory, it's called string theory, that even every subatomic particle is actually just something, a string vibrating, like a tiny string vibrating. Now, where is that found in the Bible? You find it in Genesis 1, John chapter 1, and Psalm 33, where the Bible says that God created based on his word. He spoke. The very act of speaking is a vibration. When he spoke, the world was created. He spoke everything into existence except us. And I'm not sure why that distinction, but there must be some scientific reason. He didn't speak us into existence. He created us with his hand, took the dirt of the ground, made our bodies. There's something sacred about our body. And then he breathed life into the human. And that became a living spirit. So we've got a few scriptures on that. Let me read to you a couple of things so people understand. I only want biblical stuff. I want to do things that are in line with the Bible. Psalm 33 verse 9 says, for he spoke, right? Vibration went out and it was done. He commanded and it stood fast. So within just that is the secret of health, not only the secret of the universe, the secret of health, that you could, at certain frequencies and vibrations, find all of the pathogens or correct all of the different problems. That's the potential. We could tap into this, great secret technology. String theory, I've always liked quantum mechanics and all that. So let me explain string theory in basic terms. They say, this is theoretical, that the universe is made up of 10 strings or 10 dimensions. They're all vibrating, and 4 of them are discernible or measurable. 6 of them are coiled. They say like coiled in such a way that they're not discernible, not measurable, but they're there according to the theory. Some people now theorize that there are 11, which, is a number of chaos, maybe due to the fall, and they call that M theory. M standing for magic or mystery or membrane. Membranes vibrate. Like a drum is a membrane, right? And the latest theory is there may be more than 11 dimensions. There may be 26. I love all these numbers, because they're all biblical, right? 10 is the law. We even have 10 fingers on our hands. How is it that the whole universe is matching the physiology, the anatomy of the human body? Because God made us in his image and likeness. So 10 is a number that defines the 10 laws, the 10 fingers, and the 10 strings that possibly make up the universe, many of which are dimensions we can't, even fathom or imagine. But possibly it's 26. And anybody who follows me, read my book, The Divine Code, you got one right there. 26 is the number of God. It's Yud He Vav He. Those 4 letters in Hebrew add up to number 26. And so quite possibly we live in a universe of 26 strings that are vibrating, and all the atoms are vibrating. And so if we're an electrical body and we could send those frequencies or the signals that are targeted, as John said, to the signature of the bad bacteria instead of the good. So antibiotics just kill them all. But frequencies would actually potentially be able to target each, each anomaly, each pathogen, if we know its signature. So that's probably the next question is, so then how would you know the frequency signature of what is healthy and what is unhealthy? What's behind that?
What they would do is they would tune the frequency to see how it would react with the bad bacteria. What they found is that they found something within that realm, and there's a whole spectrum of frequencies. So let's just say in this realm, they found that a lot of bacteria are in this realm that would, if you could match the resonant frequency of the bacteria, it basically dissolves it. So you've seen the lady sing with the opera glass and break the opera glass because she has matched the frequency coming back from the glass. She has to be very in tune, but that's how they do it. They match the frequency of the glass, and then that is what shatters it apart. So this science has been out since the 1920s and 30s, and that's how it essentially works.
I did this scan, which I think is a frequency scan. Is there a name for that?
We call it the Black Star Bioscanner, but Pastor Stee's results really blew my mind. And he had all greens. This is a very rare. This is extremely rare. Some people have a lot of yellow and a lot of red. Steve was actually, which was just amazing, probably the best. I've had models, I've had athletes, people that look like perfection. I've had all types of people here. Steve's scan was the best scan I ever had. He had all greens and then only one slightly yellow. It was,
What's amazing? Okay, so I mean, there are numbers and figures, but in layman term, you're going to see red for trouble, yellow for potential issues to address, and green is you're kind of clear. And not only was it mostly green and some yellow, but the yellows identified parts of the body that actually I consider that I want to optimize. I'm not sick, but I want it to be better. And the scan couldn't know that. And somehow the scan picked up exactly the parts of the body that I don't feel totally optimal and I want to improve. So when I heard about your medbed, I understood something, and maybe you can explain it better than me. But so the stuff that comes from China, they're just copper or silver wires, and so they have a certain grounding. That's one of the technologies. It's grounding, frequency, light, all sorts of things you can explain. We're going to get into that in a moment. But just on the medbed claim to fame, uh, having these wires just stretched across fabric, it seems to me that as soon as you fold the fabric or you're sleeping on the bed, those wires would not last 3 to 4 weeks. And then what tested positively in terms of, it worked, it grounded you, that may not work 4 weeks later. And you had this invention of, is it spinning flexible wires that would ground? So that right away told me you've got some scientific mind and some kind of inventor's mind to think through not just selling the product, but okay, what happens 4 weeks later? What happens when you've sold people's stuff and they won't even think about testing it, 8 weeks, 10 weeks later? So please, is that a okay way to describe part of your invention in the medbed industry?
yeah. So the foundation of the frequency medicine, believe it or not, it can be seen in your household, right? We see the AC outlet, like our plug. We simply plug things in, right? But guess what? There's always a little hole underneath. It's always like a smiley face with a nose, two slots with a hole. That's a complete system, guys. That's a complete system. It has the electrical understanding, but also it has the grounding component, and I'll show it to you. And this is what we're talking about, the grounding. To make it a complete system, it showed right in our household that you have to have both to have a complete system. So this doesn't plug into the electrical side, just the ground. And what happened over the years is I'm not the first guy that did grounding. I was the first guy to make grounding a lifelong thing, a durable product. Because I spent 25 years in the mattress industry, I was able to create the first stretchable conductive fabric. Now, a lot of people say, I know what grounding is, and I'll actually say I have 2 US approved patents, and likely you don't know as much as you believe, in the sense that you may understand the concept, but you don't understand that how it could be an application to our everyday lives. And so most grounding products are a checkerboard, and they look like just like a checkerboard. And the problem is, as soon as you lay on the mattress, so if you put your knee on the mattress, it's going to sink like 6 to 8 inches deep. If you do that with the current technology and China-made product, it's going to stretch the fabric, and then it becomes obsolete. It's no longer doing what it claims to do. Our grounding product lasts as long as the mattress. So when you're talking like 7 years, that's why it took me 6 years to figure out the first coil thread. So when you think of a telephone cord, you think that this little telephone cord wire that's wrapped is this small, but actually it's this big, right? And this is what it looks like. Look how thick the wires are, and that's why when I say it's stretchable, you have to have the stretch when you're talking about a mattress. If you
I
put
see
your
that.
knee in here and you don't, and you have the other technology, there's recalled product being sold, and it was recalled around 15 years ago. But my patents actually prove, like, to the world that this is the foundational understanding to frequency medicine. If you don't understand grounding, you actually don't, you're only missing half of your frequency claims. So a lot of people claim frequency, but if you don't have the grounding, you don't have a complete system. And if you don't have a specific frequency you're using pseudoscience. Pseudoscience is something you can't measure. Everything in our system, all 86 products, you can measure, monitor, and it's very specific. It's data oriented so that you can manage your health.
So let me continue with your credentials here. You're a pioneer in medbed technology, in an innovation that blends grounding to frequency technologies that include biotech, anti-aging, biohacking. by harnessing health technology stemming from Nikola Tesla. That's pretty cool. I want to come back to Nikola Tesla. You've been featured. Bloomberg says you're the world's greatest health technology pioneer in 2024. If you've got that on Bloomberg, I mean, Tony Robbins should be hearing about you. Elon Musk should know who you are. I know Dennis Quaid, the actor, he knows who you are.
Yes.
He's given a plug to your product, right?
Actually, currently, if you're on Fox News or a couple of different outlets, he chose me as the future of wellness. He did a whole documentary about us, and it's airing live on mainstream at the perfect time in history where, people are talking about, our health. And so I believe we're at the pivotal point in history where uh, a lot of blessings can be solved and healing can happen. And on the flip side of that, we have some major things that we have to address as a community and as a world under God. We've got to connect and pull together and understand some of the stuff we're talking about, because if you want to run on the hamster wheel with the current trajectory, that is like, this is to get off the merry-go-round and actually put your hand, basically your future in your own hands, with the ideals that will create a better future for us all.
Good. Okay, we're gonna take a look at all the different technologies in a moment. You're also featured in the New York Times, July 2024. It's kind of a hit piece, but it doesn't matter. Any publicity is good publicity, they like to say. They called you a right-wing. Your technology, they call it a right-wing miracle cure. In the New York Times, they called you a real miracle technology creator, a conspiracy theorist. These are all good names for them to call you. When they start labeling you all this, it means that you're onto something good. Otherwise, they wouldn't bother to do a hit piece on you. Let's talk about Nikola Tesla. What exactly did he discover? And I'll explain my basic understanding of. We got two currents, DC and AC. DC is actually zero current or zero frequency. It's flat. AC is got a frequency. That's about all that I understand about this. What did Nikola Tesla do about it?
So in our world today, Nikola Tesla made electricity an everyday thing in our homes. He already literally created this digital age, even cell towers and even phones at their infancy understanding. So we call him the pioneer of all this. We give him credit where credit is due, right? He created the first grounding patents to make electricity accessible in our homes. Without the grounding patent, it was creating electrical fires. Now, DC only pushes from one side, it creates energy and it shoots to another side. There is no ground on a DC. On an AC current, as long as you're connected at one point, it can connect as many points as possible. And because of that, everyone can siphon off the electricity like we have today. And also because of the ground makes it, like I said, no electrical fires in your house. So it really brought attention not only to the understanding that we can get electricity in our house, but this whole age that we're in today. And so Nikola Tesla came around the time where they first measured frequency. His name was Heinrich Hertz. He created the Hertz, the frequency, to understand what the measurement was of the electricity. So from there, when Nikola Tesla figured this out, he created the first Tesla coil, a way to generate the electricity. And if you go through his history, his father was a pastor, and he would ask all these questions. He was a sickly kid, but if you ask them how he figured out the most famous invention of all time that keeps this world going, he looked at the sun and understood that it was working in a circular fashion. And it was with his understanding of this science that was in his own mind that he created a contraption that could create electricity. Niagara Falls, he is accredited for using the water to spin a rotor to create electricity for New York City back in the early 1900s. And it was through this understanding that he came up with a whole two prominent health devices. One is called the violet ray, and the other is essentially the oscillator. These two technologies, and we follow his principles. I put a name on a product because of him as well. So what we've done is we have about 5 Tesla technologies. We give him credit where credit's due. And what happens is there's light, the sound, and the direct current of frequencies. All 3 of these can be utilized on the body at one time, maximizing the effect. And then there's another one called the oscillator, the multi-wave oscillator. The multi-wave oscillator is more of a field therapy. From the machine, it creates a field. And if you're in the field, and it's very powerful, not like a lot of stuff you hear about, but this is a very powerful field. You can actually turn on a light bulb. You are the light, and you're sitting in between a machine that can turn on a light bulb. You're in the machine as well. And so this varying understanding of frequency medicine, light, sound, and direct current, along with the field therapy, he already told us if Nikola Tesla likely created a medbed in the early 1900s with this understanding. So that's why we can bridge the past with the future and create these amazing products. And that's how we got here.
So I want people to know, obviously people are going to be asking the most obvious question, where can I get all this stuff? And I took one of our church staff over to your clinic in Orlando, and you did not even know what's going on in his body. You just put those Tesla coils on his belly and back, and he says, here you go, just sit here for a bit. Well, the next day he tells me that he's been having these back issues, and he feels like, they're 70%, 80% better. And that was just one session. So there's a variety of technologies that I saw, 86 that you said. I tried a couple of them. I'll tell our audience, they're not cheap, so if you're going to buy a mattress, there'll be a certain price, but if you buy a grounding mattress with all this, it's going to be another price. So my guess is some of the portable stuff are from a few hundred to a few thousand, and all the way to the very big machines, where it's almost like you have your own clinic in your house. And I'm sure some of the people who've spent a lot of money on various traditional medicine and surgery, you'll appreciate that if you had it in your home, it's convenient and it's non-harming. That would be worth tens and tens of thousands of dollars. So I think that's the range that we're looking at. So I want to make sure that people know, if you wanted to get any of those things, you can go to a special link that you've given us, antiagingbed.com/Pastor Steve. Or I assume you could put a promo code Pastor Steve in there and you'll get a discount. And again, if it goes up to the clinic in your own home, it's going to be a lot of money saved just on, what is it, about 5% discount?
Yeah, there's a 5% discount with the code. Package deals already 10% off. So some stuff you can get 15% off total. But yeah, you basically, with this understanding, it's a lot to understand. And that's why I'm here to educate and inform people at this high level. And I showed you sheets like this start at this is the least expensive item. We have these eye masks. These are EMF shielding to cover your orbital. So this shields you from EMFs. Behind me, we have a blanket. We have the pillowcase. The bed covers are number one seller. Whatever mattress you have,
Sure, we have that.
Yep. Goes around it. You want to take this to the next level. We have frequency machines that you use in your comfort of your own home. This is an oxygen generator. That's a hydrogen generator. We have a Tesla coil that we can put on. There's wands that we can use. There is a little bit of everything, and you can turn your home into this system that you hear about on TV or in different circles. You can hear about medbed technology, but we actually have the ground. That's why if the medbeds of the future don't have grounding, they're only like half of the understanding. Like I told you earlier, electrical outlet has electric and it has ground. We have both. We have a complete system where we can bring you back into the balance. We have the two forces. We have the frequency that raises your cells, and we have the grounding that discharges this extra frequency. So that's a very important concept to understand. And with the oxygen and the hydrogen, that's the energy. The ground, as we went over, has many different usage, and that's where the repair side of the frequencies happen. And of course, the generators. We have a regen that you can hook the direct current into. Also, we have the Tesla coil, the system that is You can put on different places in your body to help detox your body. And of course, we have wand, and at the high level, we have the light, the sound, and the direct current of frequency. So you name it, I would say look around the website, and you could see like where we're at and what level we've gone. And you'll see with 86 technologies now that we've pulled together something advanced as the future of healthcare.
Yeah, I really am quite impressed. I read 80 million Americans struggle with sleep. 80 million Americans. Now, I sleep like a baby every day. I'm an odd person to be telling you about all this. I scan very well, thank God. I sleep very well. I've not been sick, but I take care of my health. I really believe that. I believe don't wait till you're sick. So the things that you're introducing to our family, we're using. Things that are for our bed, we use. I'd like to get some of that oxygen. I don't know what the hydrogen does. Can you tell me in brief? Oxygen is energy, right? You got 20% oxygen in the atmosphere. Most of it is nitrogen. You get more oxygen, you're going to heal faster because the body could perform, you'd be a super athlete if you're breathing 80% oxygen. So that part I understand. What's going on with the hydrogen?
Yeah, so a lot of people hear of hydrogen water. Like that's a big thing right now, a little bubble machine that you drink. But in 5 minutes with that little machine, it's equal to drinking 400 gallons of hydrogen water. So hydrogen, H2O, is like when you're talking about water, it's so important. And the problem with detoxification is that our brains and our pancreas, where all the sugar's at, it essentially in our gut. So if you want to see if someone has a health problem, check their teeth and check their gut. Check their brain, because there is so much dementia. The sugars are causing this, guys. What happens is this hydrogen gas that you're breathing essentially hydrates the brain barrier and the gut brain barrier. So that, what do you mean by that? Well, a lot of us are dehydrated, for one. Number two, we're impacted by bacterias, right? And so these are harboring and absorbing oxygen off your own cells, these bacterias. So when we say we're trying to open up the gut and brain barrier, we're saying we're giving the brain so much hydration. The gas is giving the brain hydration so that the brain is like, all this stuff doesn't belong here. We're going to clean this stuff out. Before, I didn't have the energy to do it. I didn't have the hydration, because when you're hydrated, it could take something bad and pass it to the next cell, which can pass it to the next cell and get it out of the body. But if it's dehydrated and it's impacted, it's like, I can't take this thing out of me because I can't lift it. I can't do it. And so the hydrogen opens up that hydration. Think of hydrogen as hydration. And finally, the brain is hydrated. The cognitive behavior is at a different level. The gut, you have gut problems. They say autoimmune all the time. We can cover that another time. But if your gut is hydrated, it's doing the same thing. This doesn't belong. I didn't realize it until I had to, until I was hydrated. But we're going to start working overtime. We're going to start getting this man-made stuff, out of the body.
Okay, great. So this is not something you put in the water. This is something you're putting in the air.
Yes, yeah. It's
Oh, you gotta put it right on your nose, is it?
You're just breathing it. You can use the mask, or you can use the little holes that go around your ear, and you can do it up to 2 hours a day. And I think one of the things we're working on is to create the first hydrogen hyperbaric chamber. But we want people hydrated so that their body works.
Right. So you can do stuff like just put a mask on and breathe more oxygen, more hydrogen, but you can also go into a pressurized chamber, which is one of the things you showed me, and that felt great. It just makes you alert and alive, and your brain is firing at optimal. That was great. Then you have like these beds that they're like capsules, and you go in and it shakes and does things like that. So they're all different solutions that people can get, and you're offering 5% off if you go to antiagingbed.com/Pastor Steve.
Look up, yeah. These are the end of days what the Bible says about the day of the Lord. And the whole world shake with the big earthquake.